Manchester suicide bomber was not a lone wolf. The bomb detonated by cowardly Manchester terrorist Salman Abedi was powered by the same explosive used in recent attacks in Paris and Brussels. The Manchester Arena bomb was contained inside a backpack. According to the chair of the U.S. House's Homeland Security Committee, it was loaded with TATP, which stands for triacetone triperoxide. Evidence found at the scene shows the device was powered by a 12-volt, 2.1-amp lead-acid battery and was packed with metal bolts and screws. Initial investigation suggests the bomb was detonated by a switch with a small circuit board attached to one end. Experts believe the circuit board provided a backup that could have been detonated remotely if the bomber had second thoughts. This shows that Abedi was likely not working alone and may even have had an accomplice in the area. An accomplice who is still out there somewhere. 22 people were killed in the blast, and more than 50 others were severely injured. The bomber also died. Many of the victims were killed in a nearly complete circle around the bomber, as shrapnel tore through the foyer of the arena, lodging in metal doors and scuffing the brick walls. British officials are investigating whether Abedi was part of a terror cell with links across Europe and North Africa. The authorities want to establish if Abedi was linked to Mohammed Abrini, who is suspected of planning and executing the November 2015 Paris attacks and the 2016 Brussels bombings. Abrini visited Manchester in 2015. Say no to safe spaces on YouTube. Support TomoNews at patreon.com/TomoNews. The terrorist threat to the UK remains at critical level. Manchester suicide bomber linked to Islamic State recruiter. New information suggests that the jihadi behind the mass slaughter in Manchester on Monday night had ties to an Islamic terror cell in the city. According to an investigation by British television channel Sky News, Salman Abedi grew up in South Manchester with several other jihadis, many of whom went to fight for Islamic State. Abedi was the suicide bomber who killed 22 people when he blew himself up at the ARIANA GRANDE concert in Manchester Arena on Monday night. Dozens more were wounded. Among the victims were young adults, teens, and children. Reports suggest that Abedi knew this man, Raphael Hosti. Both men had worshipped at this place, the Didsbury Mosque. Hosti reportedly radicalized and recruited hundreds of young British Muslims to go and fight for Islamic State. The 24-year-old was reportedly killed during a drone strike in 2016. Elsewhere, the British government says it had known about Abedi up to a point. And according to France, both countries were aware that the 22-year-old had traveled to Syria in the past. And if that's true, then the British security services will be facing some very tough questions indeed.
22-year-old Salman Abedi named suicide bomber in Manchester attack. The terror threat level in the UK was raised to its highest level on Tuesday after officials named a 22-year-old British citizen as the perpetrator behind the deadly Manchester Arena explosion. The suicide bomber has been identified as 22-year-old British citizen Salman Abedi. His family is believed to be of Libyan origin, and he has at least 3 siblings, all born in England. Local reports say Abedi had visited Libya 3 weeks ago and only returned to Manchester recently. Abedi was registered as living at an address on Ellesmere Road, which is less than 4 miles from Manchester Arena. Armed police carried out a controlled explosion to gain entry to the home. A 23-year-old man was also arrested in Chorlton, South Manchester, in connection with the attack. Military personnel will be deployed to protect major sites as authorities believe further attacks may be imminent. How did Salman Abedi pull off his attack? The UK is reeling after a British-born college student carried out a horrific attack in Manchester. ARIANA Grande concert-goers were filing out of Manchester Arena Monday night when an explosion rocked the venue. 22-year-old suicide bomber Salman Abedi had detonated what appeared to be a nail bomb in the foyer, killing 22 and injuring dozens more. Bombings require preparation, planning, and expertise, which not all jihadists possess. The UK hasn't seen a bombing since 2005, with recent perpetrators instead having used knives or vehicles to carry out their attacks. Officials are now investigating how Abedi did it. One possibility is that he was taught how to make the bomb by someone tied to ISIS or Al-Qaeda, who reportedly traveled to Libya as recently as 3 weeks ago and may have learned there. Another scenario is that Abedi acted alone, somehow teaching himself bomb-making techniques and building his device in complete secrecy. This is unlikely, however, given that the task requires engineering skill. ISIS has also claimed responsibility for the attack, though their involvement has yet to be confirmed. The third possibility is that Abedi was simply given the explosive, which points to the presence of a skilled bomb maker in the UK and the threat of another attack. British Prime Minister Theresa May has raised the threat level to the maximum level of critical. Authorities are continuing to investigate the attacker and his explosive as they attempt to figure out if he was part of a cell and if they are planning to strike again.
Say no to safe spaces on YouTube. Support TomoNews at patreon.com/TomoNews.
Police suspect Manchester bomb was a terror attack. At least 22 people died and scores more were injured in an explosion at a concert in Manchester. Authorities said they're treating the blast as a terror attack until they had further information. A capacity crowd of 21,000 people were at the Manchester Arena on Monday night for an ARIANA GRANDE concert. As the show was finishing, there was an explosion in the foyer of the arena. Some witnesses said the attack appeared to be carried out with a nail bomb. The blast sparked panic inside the arena as thousands of people ran for the exits. At least 22 people were killed and 59 injured. Many of the wounded were reportedly trampled as they ran from the venue. U.S. officials told Reuters that the attack was possibly the work of a suicide bomber. However, British police have yet to confirm what caused the blast, and no group has claimed responsibility for the attack. At least 19 people dead in explosion at Ariana Grande's concert. At least 19 people were killed by an explosion that went off at the end of American pop singer Ariana Grande's concert in Manchester yesterday. An explosion went off at around 10:30 p.m. at Manchester Arena on Monday night. The blast took place as people were leaving the venue. A single explosion reportedly struck the foyer opposite the Manchester Victoria Transit Station. Reports say a nail bomb was used in the attack. More than 50 people were injured in the blast, including many teenage girls who were at the concert. UK authorities are treating the attack as a possible terrorist incident. Panicked family members and friends were reportedly flooding social media with pleas for information regarding their children and loved ones moments after the blast.